welcome to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It's Wednesday in the great state of Wisconsin, or wherever you are listening. We got a lot to talk about today. We have the Badgers getting the win over Michigan State. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Big win for the Badgers last night. Also looking at college football. Everybody else is talking about the Florida State issue, so I'm going to dive into it a little bit too. Then we got to cover the Bucks. Bucks got a win last night against the Knicks. We're going to be talking about that. Getting into the NFL a little bit, looking at last weekend's scoreboard, getting over the games there, and then just a little bit on the Packers. Just want to look into the Packers a little bit, and then we'll see if we get into the college men's basketball there and just kind of talk about that a little bit. See what we're seeing there throughout the league right now. But with that, I'm your host, Trage. I'm here today, and Austin is not with us again. Austin is, I don't know what he's doing right now. He's going to have some stories to tell us when he gets back. I can't disclose that information, but he's going to have some stories to tell us when he gets back. But with that, right away, we're going to jump into the Badgers because the Badgers got a big win against Michigan State last night, 70-57. The Badgers controlled this one from the get-go. I mean, right off the bat there, 34 points in the first half there, held Michigan State to 23. Michigan State, a struggling team right now. I mean, Tyson Walker is what makes him go, and besides that right now, I mean, look down the board for him. There isn't much help. He doesn't have much help. Malik Hall was sick, they said, going into this one, so you don't get much out of Malik Hall there, but Hogard, Atkins, not much going on. Cisco didn't really show much for him, and this Michigan State team, don't get me wrong. Next time the Badgers see them when they come to Madison, this is going to be a different team. Don't look at this 4-4 Michigan State team and think they are just completely not there, because this is a team coached by Tom Izzo that is a pretty darn good team. Tom Izzo knows how to coach them up, and next time around, I guarantee you it's going to be a better game there between Wisconsin and Michigan State. But for this one, I mean, you look at the game for the Badgers here, and Stephen Crowell and AJ Storr were the leading scorers. AJ went for 22, and Stephen Crowell had 18 of his own there. Storr was 4 for 6 from downtown, and Big Steve Crowell went 4 for 4 from behind the arc in this one. The impressive stat for the Badgers, 14 for 14 from the free throw line. Perfect from the line. That is a huge key for this Badger team. I just want to look, last year, the biggest problem we saw across the board for the Badgers, they couldn't shoot free throws, and they got out-rebounded every game. I mean, it seemed like every game Badgers were getting out-rebounded. You look at this season for the Badgers, look at their last outing against Marquette, 24 for 28. Now you lead that into a 14 for 14 effort against Michigan State here. Wisconsin's all around. I mean, you look at the growth of this team. That is keying on the growth right there is the rebounding and the free throws for Wisconsin. All around impressive. Looking at the three-point arc for the Badgers in this one also, I mean, I just talked about there with Crowell and AJ Storr, 10 for 23. I mean, the Badgers shot it well from downtown. We said it against Marquette. I didn't hold true against Marquette, but we said it leading into this game against Michigan State. The Badgers were going to have to do something from the three-point line, and they did in this one. 10 for 23. It's a solid outing, 43% from downtown. 45% from the field in this one, 23 for 51. Looking at the rebound margin, that's where I love to look right now for this Badger team. 36, out-rebounded Michigan State by 14 in this one, 36 to 22. Looking at the offensive rebounds, 11 for Wisconsin. Another double-digit offensive rebounding night for the Badgers. And, I mean, you look at two guys in there on the offensive boards. Tyler Wall has been massive this season for the Badgers. I mean, you don't see him in the score column all the time. You don't talk about him. Tyler Wall isn't out there doing what AJ Storr is doing, dropping 22. He's not getting double-digit scoring all the time like Stephen Crowell. But you look at the underlying things of what Tyler Wall is doing for this basketball team. The defensive end, you talk about how versatile Tyler Wall is, and I mean he's a forward, but he can guard the guards, and that's the big thing with Tyler Wall. Everybody likes to shoot on Tyler Wall. They like to crap on him, say that he isn't this, he isn't that. At times, he's not the greatest scorer in the world. He's not. He's not a 3-level scorer. He's not even a 2-level scorer. He's a 1-level scorer. But he's got some pretty good moves in the paint. That's what I got to say about him. But he is a big man, bigger man, we'll call him. I mean, Steve's the big man, so you got a bigger man in Tyler Wall who can guard. You get that switch. He can defend, guys like Tyson Walker a little bit, AJ Hogard and Atkins out there. He can defend the guards, and I think that is a huge thing to have on a team, and Tyler Wall brings that presence to the Badgers, a leadership presence for this Badger team. Foul trouble got him early in this one again, early in the first half, and it was great to see the Badgers kind of weather that storm. I mean, they've done a great job when guys get in foul trouble weathering the storm. Late in this one, Steven Crowell got into foul trouble there. I think he got his third or his fourth, and we saw Nolan Winter for a while. Winter came up with some big rebounds, 3 rebounds in that 8 minutes that he had in this one. That doesn't seem like a lot. But, in that moment, the Badgers could have folded. We saw a lot from what Steven Crowell was doing in this one, and you expected Steven Crowell, when he went out, this is when Michigan State was going to put on that run. Nolan Winter kind of held check. And that's what I think was a massive thing for the Badgers here, was what Nolan Winter brought to the table in this one. Also, John Blackwell, once again in this one, 20 minutes for Blackwell, 6 for 6 from the line, got to the free throw line and converted when he got to the free throw line. 2 for 4 from the floor in this one, 10 points in total. Blackwell, again, proved, it's his time. He's going to be out there. He's going to get his minutes. He's earned his minutes, and Blackwell is doing it for him. Also, Asian, 1 for 1 from downtown, had one shot in this one, knocked it down. I thought that was big to see out of Asian, was finally being able to knock down that long ball. And impressive work there out of Chucky Hepburn. That's another guy I want to touch on there. The growth of Chucky Hepburn, and I cannot say that I wasn't one of those guys who bashed on Chucky Hepburn night after night because of the struggle that he had at shooting. And a lot of people did. I mean, across the board. If you can tell me that you didn't say something negative about Chucky Hepburn in his last season, I mean, I'm going to call you crazy. And looking at this season, 5 points in this one. 5 points. Not really a crazy outing from Chucky Hepburn scoring the basketball. But if you look over the past games for Wisconsin, Chucky Hepburn he's been the motor that makes this thing go. 8 assists, 5 rebounds. He only had that one 3-pointer in this one, 2 for 7 from the field in this ball game. 2 offensive rebounds, though. Chucky Hepburn is the motor that makes this engine go. And that's kind of where I'm at right now with the Badgers, is that it's the underlying guys that are making this thing go. It's not always, we have different guys each night that are leading and scoring. You look at the Marquette game, it was Klesman. Klesman had the big 21. I mean, in basically first half scoring, but Klesman was huge in that one. Look at this one against Michigan State. Klesman goes for 2 points in this one. And you look at the opposite side of it now, AJ Storr goes for 22 and Crowell goes for 18. It's different guys every night that are contributing to this Badger team. And I think that is what the biggest thing is. The difference between last year and this year is that they aren't so reliant on one guy. You look back at when Johnny Davis was in Madison, and they were so reliant on Johnny Davis to make this offense go for the Badgers. And last year, it was a lot of times we all got mad about it, watching Chucky Hepburn out at the top of the key, just dribbling around, waiting for the ball screen, late in the shot clock. Now we fired up. This season just seems like Chucky Hepburn has been able to take a step back. He's been able to just distribute the basketball. When he's got to shoot, I mean, Chucky Hepburn, you look late in some of those games in the Fort Myers tip-off, you look at that game against Marquette, when he needed to get that shot off, he got the shot off. I mean, he had some quick turnarounds in the lane. Chucky Hepburn has been prone to being able to hit that shot, but he hasn't been so reliant on all the time, I need to be the guy to shoot this basketball. And I think that is the big thing that we're seeing right now with this Badger team, is that it's not relying on Chucky anymore, so the offense is flowing. The offense is flowing a lot better for the Badgers. And, you have guys like Klesman stepping up. Tyler Wallace had his moments this year. AJ Storr, Steven Crowell, Blackwell off the bench. Other guys have contributed to this success of the Badgers here for this 6-game win streak that they're on right now. And it has honestly impressed me, the difference between last year's team and this year's team. Just the difference of mentality, the way they're going to this. More aggressive. I mean, you look at how aggressive the Badgers are. 11 offensive rebounds in this game against Michigan State. Michigan State usually is a pretty fundamentally sound basketball team. They're going to box you out. They're going to rebound. They're going to get to the free throw line. They're not going to turn the ball over a lot, and they're going to limit turnovers. That's the big thing. And in this game against Michigan State, you look at it, they limited turnovers, 8 turnovers, but you look at the flip side of that, like I said, Badgers out-rebounded them by a lot, by a wide margin of 14. On the offensive glass, 6. They out-rebounded them by 6. Just impressive all the way around work from the Badgers here. And you look from the 3-point line for Michigan State, 6 for 19. 23 for 51 from the floor, 5 for 7 from the line. Michigan State only got to the line 7 times against Wisconsin. That is a big underlying factor for this Badger team. keeping guys out of the paint, keeping them out of those positions where they can get the foul trouble. That's where I think the communication between this Badger team has gotten a lot better too. Guys aren't getting put into positions. The big men aren't being put into positions where they are forced to foul or they're in a spot where they're going to get called for that foul. And I think that's been a big thing for the Badgers this year. It's just the chemistry of this team, I think, is a lot better. Last year, I thought the chemistry of the Badgers was pretty good. I did, but you watch it out on the court then, and it's like it didn't show. This year, this team all over across the board, I think this chemistry is just fantastic with this Badgers team. They're playing as a team, and that's what I think is the big thing. Looking at that game, like we talked about against Marquette, first half for the Badgers. I mean, it was reliant on Max Klesman. The offense looked terrible in the first half against Marquette. The offense looked good through Max Klesman. Going in that second half, they went to team basketball, and that's when the Badgers looked best. In this game against Michigan State, team basketball is what won them this game. And, I mean, big first half again from the Badgers. Defense showed in the first half. They're 23 points against, I mean, it's a struggling Michigan State team, but still a fundamentally sound team. This is still a good team. I mean, Hoggard, great basketball player. We saw it last year in March. Hoggard, I mean, he could take over a game. Atkins, very good guard. Tyson Walker, a tremendous guard. And Cisco can be a dominant big man for Michigan State. And they didn't show in this one. Badgers defense did well in this game against Michigan State. But you look at the shot selection for Michigan State. Tyson Walker put up 20 shots in this one. Hoggard put up 10. You look at the rest of the starters for them. Cooper and Cisco both had one shot apiece, and Akins put up 4. I mean, just the limited action of the bigs from Michigan State just shows how well the Badgers are defending right now in the paint. They are owning the paint, and that's what I think the big thing is right now, is the Badgers are playing well in the paint. Looking at Steven Crowell in this one, I mean, he did go 4 for 4 from downtown, but in the paint there, a couple shots in the paint there for him. You have Tyler Wall down there. AJ Storr doing damage down there in the paint there, getting to the basket, along with Chucky, and then guys like Blackwell getting inside and being able to score at the rim. Those are all massive things, and I think the Badgers doing well controlling the paint right now. Also, another thing I want to key in on, I think, honestly, AJ Storr is growing. I think he's growing before our eyes right now with Badgers. And you don't really see it because you're like, okay, what do you mean? What do you mean he's growing before our eyes right now? AJ Storr has played well at times for the Badgers, but early on in this season, a lot of undisciplined shots, a lot of shots that he shouldn't have taken, a lot of high field goal. He had a lot of attempts, not a lot of makes. That's what I'm trying to shoot for here. And AJ Storr, I think, has developed. Look at this game. He took a lot of good shots. There was one shot, I think it was a 3 that he took that I was like, why? Why are you taking that shot? But besides that, AJ Storr, he's been disciplined. He's been putting up a lot better shots. He's been working through the offense. We talked about it early on in the season there against Providence there when the storm blew through and the Badgers just got knocked out. I mean, in that one, even a couple games before that, AJ Storr just kind of played undisciplined. He wasn't really working within the offense. I think AJ Storr is finally getting back within the offense here, limiting the turnovers a little bit. 3 in this one. It's when he gets out of control that he turns the ball over, and that's my problem with AJ Storr, is when he's relaxed, when he's working within the offense, then we see that 8 for 11 from the field, 4 for 6 from downtown. He lets the offense work through everything else, work through him, and then it's successful when he gets those kickouts, when the post gets the touch, when Steven Crowell gets a touch and is able to kick it out to the shooters, that's when the Badgers are successful in these games. And that was, again, where I'm seeing the growth in AJ Storr is just the discipline that he has been showing. I think it's just tremendous. And we saw it in this one, that's the growth of what he is doing. And the growth of Steven Crowell, being able to step out and hit those 4 threes, a couple of big ones early. The Badgers, early on, they weren't running away with the game. It was still, a hand-in-hand kind of deal. And Steven Crowell put him ahead, and that was it. I mean, Steven Crowell hit a big 3, and that just got everybody fired up. So Steven Crowell is the underlying – I really do think Steven Crowell is the underlying factor for the Badgers the rest of the way. I really do, because if Steven Crowell – we see high output games from him where Steven Crowell's involved in the offense, getting the offense working through him. The Badgers' offense flows a lot better. They score a lot more. And, they control the time of possession. And I think that's big for the Badgers. We've known it for years. Badgers love to control time of possession, but I think they get good shots through that time of possession when they work the ball through the post. So, again, Badgers impressive in this one here. And coming up, a date with Arizona coming up on Saturday. That is going to be a huge matchup. This was a game. This was the stretch. This was the stretch for the Badgers. You had number 3 Marquette, you had Michigan State, and then you had Arizona. This was going to be the big stretch for Wisconsin, the make or break kind of time. You got 2. We talked about it. I said if you could get 2, that'd be impressive. You have a date with one of the best teams in the country now in Arizona. This is a game, win or lose, you want to see an impressive showing out of this Wisconsin team. You just want to see something. And see something, even if it's not a win, you want to see something the Badgers can build off. It's going to be tough. Going down to Tucson there, that's going to be a tough place to play for Wisconsin. I do think they can play with Arizona. Everybody's going to say, well, what do you mean they can play with Arizona? I mean, there's a lot of people that said after I said Wisconsin could play with Marquette. Wisconsin can't play with Marquette. They don't have the same athleticism that Marquette has. They played their game. I think that is the big thing Wisconsin needs to avoid is playing Arizona's game. Don't let them get out and run. Don't let that transition kind of offense get to you. You look at this Michigan State team. Michigan State played Arizona, lost by, I believe, 6. They lost by 6. That was a close game against Michigan State. Michigan State played them well. The only thing that failed Michigan State was when they tried to run. When they tried to run with Arizona. The Badgers did a good job against Marquette avoiding the run. I think that's what they have to do in this one is avoid getting into a running match with them. And the Badgers in this one have to avoid this rebound, getting out rebounded. Arizona right now averaging about 47.1 rebounds per game. Badgers averaging 34.1. Badgers have to keep the aggression on the offensive glass, keep the aggression on the defensive glass. But with that, we're going to talk more about the Badgers-Arizona matchup later on this week when we get into the preview of that one. But with that, I want to jump over into college football because I just want to talk Florida State getting, as people say, snubbed out of the college football playoffs. So let's talk about that a little bit here. So you look at, the way I look at it, and I said this before they came out, before the committee released, I said to myself, okay, Michigan's my 1. Michigan is hands down my 1. And I said, Washington just took down Oregon in that Pac-12 championship. I said, Oregon's been in the conversation the entire time. Oregon would have been in if they beat Washington. Washington is my 2. Okay. So then I was like, okay, now I got to really think about this. After, the chaos started. When the chaos started, that's what, we all wanted chaos until the chaos started. And now we have chaos anyways. So Georgia lost to Alabama. Georgia was going to be, this is the way I look at it. And this is the way basically the committee looked at it at the time. Georgia was going to be the committee's number 1 team. That's the big thing. Georgia was going to be the committee's number 1 team going into the college football playoff. They won against Alabama. They were in as the 1 seed. They have been the 1 seed all season long, except for that little switch out they had about mid-season there, and then they got back into the 1 spot. So with that, you put Georgia up on top, and then they lost. So now Georgia's out. Okay. Who beat Georgia? Alabama. Alabama comes out of the SEC, and now I know what you're going to say. Well, then the SEC games are just +3 compared to every other game. They're not. They're not +3 compared to every other game. But the SEC schedule is tougher than what the ACC schedule is. And when I say that, I mean Alabama, Georgia, those kind of teams have to go through a gauntlet of a schedule every single year. It doesn't matter who's in there. The SEC schedule is always tough. The bottom half of the SEC would compete with a lot of top halves of conferences. And Florida State played a good schedule. They beat Clemson. Clemson didn't really play well right away, but they got better late in the season. They beat, they beat LSU to start the year. And what was the other win that they had? They beat Louisville in the ACC championship. Other than that, I mean, the Duke game wasn't really as impressive down the stretch. I mean, Duke didn't really turn out to be impressive. Clemson wasn't really that impressive. So, to me, I look at that schedule and I say to myself, okay, LSU was a good win. That was a good win, great win. I mean, you swamped LSU to start the year. But other than that, I did not see another game on the schedule that I was like, Florida State is just hands down this great team. And what I mean, you look at the ACC championship game. Florida State's offense struggled mightily. Now their defense looked good. I'll give them that. The defense looked good. Louisville screwed themselves in that game. Louisville had a couple chances that they could have taken the lead in this one and won this one against Florida State and failed to do so. That's where I look at this game. The committee's watching these games. And so now you have to take it into perspective. Okay, so Alabama just beat our number one team. Alabama's got one loss. That one loss coming to Texas. Texas is going to be in our 3 now. Texas just jumped in. Now that Georgia's out, Texas moves in. This whole mess happens. Okay, so Texas is in. Now, if you take Florida State, and this is the way I look at it, and you can look at it any way you want to look at it, and it's wrong in saying, but an undefeated Florida State team going into that college football playoff doesn't impress me. And you have to realize, and this is the big scheme of things, you can be all upset. NCAA is it's a money business. It's a business through and through. They don't care what you did in the regular season. They don't care. When it comes to the college football playoff, they want the best 4 teams. The best 4 teams that are going to give you the best 4 games. And you want to know why? TCU, Georgia. That's why. Cincinnati, Alabama. That's why. They want to give you the 4 best games that are going to give the 4 best viewership. There are the 3 best viewerships throughout the entire playoff. 2 semifinal games and then the finals, or the national championship. They want the best ratings that they're going to get for money. That's it. So, I mean, then they're going to tell you it's not about that. It's not about that, whatever, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, it is. Now, to me, if you were to ask me at the end of the year, who are your top 4 teams in college football? Florida State wasn't one of them. Why? Because you did not have your quarterback. Jordan Travis was out. That was the kicker. I hate to say it because injuries do happen. You're listening to Mike Greenberg. He was talking about it, and he said you can't forecast injuries of happening and stuff like that. I agree. You can't. But you looked at this Florida State team without Jordan Travis. They barely escaped Florida. Florida's a decent team, but without their starting quarterback, Florida, Graham Mertz did not play. So without starting quarterback, 24-15. Then you play Louisville 16-6. That was the final score of that game against Louisville. So in there, where was the impressive part? The committee has to weigh that too. They have to weigh going into this. What do you have? You have to, at the end of the year, in my belief, you could go through, Power 5 conferences and say you're undefeated, we got to put you in. You don't. You really don't. I mean, the ACC isn't a dominant conference. It isn't. And they're included in the Power 5, but at the same time, Power 5 in football is different for me. If you put the ACC in the Power 5 for basketball, yes, 100%. College basketball, 110% ACC's in there. You look at football, though, ACC's out. The Big 12's in. Big 10's in. SEC's in. And, the Pac's in there, too, because the Pac can score. I mean, we've seen that. They had look at all the Pac-12 games this year. How many games went 54-45? I mean, just ridiculous scores. And that's just where I look at it is that, Florida State just wasn't on paper one of the top 4 teams in the country anymore. They had the resume. They built it with a 13-0 overall record, but leading into the playoffs, they weren't one of the top 4 teams in the country anymore. They weren't. And you can argue with me. You can tell me that I'm wrong, but they weren't. Alabama I don't care where. If Florida State wants to meet Alabama, be my guest. Meet Alabama right now, anywhere. That Alabama team is going to trounce Florida State. Texas would trounce Florida State. Washington would trounce Florida State. Michigan would trounce Florida State. Florida State's offense is not good right now. Without Jordan Travis, there's a lot of holes in that Florida State offense. So you want to prove it to me? You want to prove the committee wrong? You have a date now. With the committees all out, number one team in the country all season long until they lost to Alabama in the SEC championship. You have a date with them in a bowl game. I believe it is the Capital One Orange Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. I believe, yes. I believe it's the Capital One Orange Bowl. And you have a date with Georgia. Win that game. You win that game, you shut everyone up. You prove everybody wrong. You prove every person that has said that you didn't deserve to be in the college football playoff wrong in that game. Because Georgia, I know there's a lot of people that say Georgia wasn't really as good as what they were. Georgia played a pretty tough schedule down the stretch. You look at the rankings and you look at the final college football playoff top 25 and you look at their schedule, there's a lot of them on. A lot of teams that are in that top 25 are in that schedule for Georgia and they beat them. The only team they couldn't beat, Alabama. So you take care of Georgia, you shut up everybody. That's what I got to say on the Florida State subject right now. It's just, I mean, sucks. It really does. But at the same time, I saw it coming. I really did. If you didn't see it coming, you were blind. You were wearing blinders, hoping to see Florida State get in there. Because when Jordan Travis got hurt and that team was dismantled, that is what was expected. So with that, I want to flip script, jump over into the Bucks. Bucks got the 146 to 122 win over the Knicks in that quarterfinals of the in-season tournament. They will head to Vegas. They will take on the Pacers next in that one. Giannis, impressive in this one. For the Bucks, 35 points in this one. That three-pointer, he was 1 for 1 from downtown. He was the most impressive three I think I've seen out of Giannis yet. Besides that buzzer beater. Walking down the court, just steps into the three. He's bringing the ball down, steps into that three, bangs it. I was like, yeah, okay. He develops this kind of game. This guy is going to be unstoppable. That's the only thing that I don't think if he develops that, watch out. I mean, he hasn't developed it yet. He's kind of that one-trick pony at times. But if he develops this piece of his game, holy cats, watch out for that one. Other than that, for the Bucks, saw a better bench showing. We talked about it yesterday. We want to see the bench show up a little bit. Bobby had 13 for him, and Cameron Payne had 12 for the Bucks in this one. Also, Beachcamp added 6, 2 for 2 from downtown. So an impressive showing there. Green went for 9 in this one, 3 for 4 from downtown. So an impressive showing out of the bench for the Bucks. 23 for 38 from downtown, 60% from the three. That was a good showing from the Bucks. Offensively, Bucks looked good in this one. Dame went for 28. Beasley went for 18. 9 from Lopez and 14 from Middleton in those limited minutes again. But Bucks impressive in this game here. 37 rebounds compared to the Knicks 36. They really out-rebound the Knicks by much in this one. Turnover-wise, Bucks did win it in there. The Knicks had 16 turnovers to the Bucks 12. Bucks a little bit shaky there handling the basketball, but they went 13 for 19 from the line in this one. Didn't get to the line much against the Knicks here, 68%. The Knicks, though, 29 for 33 from the line. Got to the line a lot against this Bucks team. Bucks had some foul trouble. Beasley, Lillard had 4. Brook Lopez had 4. Giannis had 3, 4 for Portis. I mean, the Bucks had some foul trouble there. Luckily, it was late. Julius Randle for the Knicks went off 41 points in this one, 11 for 12 from the line, 2 for 2 from 3, 14 for 19 shooting. Jalen Brunson added 24, and RJ Barrett added 23 for the Knicks. But it wasn't enough. The Bucks played well in this one. Good to see this Bucks team get a win and move on in the in-season tournament. They're going to have a tough one. They played a very good defensive team, one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, in the Knicks, and got the win. Now they play one of the best offensive teams in the Pacers. Not really something you would say too often there, that the Pacers are one of the best offensive teams, but this Pacers team shooting the lights out at the moment right now, and a lot to play for. They are fired up by this in-season tournament. I was listening, I can't remember where I heard it, but they were talking about it, and they said some of these bigger teams, you don't really see the fire in the fans or the organization or the players from winning these games for this in-season tournament. But with these not so great teams like the Pacers, I mean, you're seeing the fans have a buzz. The players have a buzz. It's like you're in the playoffs already, the end of the season playoffs, not these in-season tournament playoffs, the end of the season tournament or end of the season where these guys are fired up because they're in the playoffs winning the conference finals. No, these Pacers are winning the in-season tournament and they're fired up. So it's kind of impressive to see. We don't see it as Bucks fans. We're used to the playoffs. But these Pacer fans, they haven't been to the playoffs in a while. So when they see something like this and they're finally winning at something, they're doing well, they get excited. And that's something to see. So the Bucks will have their hands full with the Pacers there in Vegas. So should be an impressive showing there for the Bucks. But with that, I want to jump over and just talk about the NFL scoreboard real quick from this last weekend. A lot of games. Cowboys got the win over the Seahawks on Thursday night, 41-35. Colts with a 31-28 win over the Titans. Chargers 6-0 over the Patriots. 6-0. That Chargers team has they got to do a lot of changing. That's just ridiculous. 6-0, the final score there. Lions 33-28 winners over the Saints. The Falcons got the win over the Jets. 13-8 in that one. Tim Boyle did start for the Jets, but he was let go. I saw former Packer was let go by the Jets. And I did hear that Zach Wilson was asked to play in that one, but Zach Wilson refused. And his reasoning was he did not want to get behind that offensive line. So hopefully that's not true because Zach Wilson might have just screwed over his entire NFL career with that statement. But we'll have to wait and see what comes out of there. Cardinals got the win over the Steelers 24-10. The Dolphins 45-15 over the Commanders. Texans win it against the Broncos 22-17. A late interception in that one. Got the win for the Texans. Sad to see though. Tank Dell was injured in that one. Looks like it's going to be a season-ending injury for Tank Dell. So sucks to see a very good rookie, a wide receiver in the league, and gets injured in that ball game. Other than that, Buccaneers got the win over the Panthers. Barely got out of there, 21-18 in that one. Evans did score on a 75-yard touchdown and 1,000 yards for the 10th straight year. So impressive out of Mike Evans there. Baker Mayfield had a good game there, 202 with touchdown and interception in that one. Rams got the win over the Browns, 36-19. Impressive showing out of the Rams offense in that one. A very good Browns defense. Stafford threw for 3 touchdowns in that one for 279. Had a good rushing game out of Williams. And Nakua had 105 yards there on 4 receptions and a touchdown. 49ers. This was the game I expected to be a little bit better. I didn't expect what I saw. 42-19 was the final score there. Brock Purdy, 314, 4 touchdowns. Deebo Samuel, 4 receptions, 116 yards. And McCaffrey, 93 yards on 17 carries. So an impressive showing out of the 49ers. Kind of swamped them Eagles. The Eagles got a problem. It's a 49er problem. All right, and Monday night, the Jaguars lost to the Bengals. Bengals got the win against the Jags there on Monday night in overtime. McPherson hit the walk-off field goal for the Bengals, and that one, Browning, went for 354 and a touchdown in that ball game. Impressive showing out of the backup for the Bengals. Jamar Chase, 149 yards through the air in that one. And Joe Mixon, 68 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Bengals. Bengals impressed in that game against the Jaguars. But with that, I want to jump over into the Packers. And the big thing I want to talk about, what do the Packers have to do moving forward? The Packers, winners of a couple straight here now, 3 straight. Let's just jump over. I got to jump over into the Packers real fast here. Get it pulled up on my screen here. Packers winners of 3 straight against Chargers, Lions, and Chiefs. And that's impressive. That is impressive. That was a tough stretch that the Packers went through. Didn't expect what we saw out of this Packers team. And, what are the keys moving forward for what we expect to see and what we need to see moving forward? And that is the Packers got to get healthy. I mean, right now, looking at I just want to pull up the injury report here for the Packers and kind of see where they're sitting right now. Leading up into week 14, I mean, look back at week 13 there, and you have, I mean, Jair's still he's still questionable. DeGuara's not back yet. That's okay. Rudy Ford just did come back, but Aaron Jones still out. Emmanuel Wilson out. Luke Musgrave's out. Eric Stokes still out. You did not. Christian Watson is now out for this Packers team. You don't know. I mean, they haven't come out with the injury report yet for this week, but you can only imagine what we're going to see on that injury report. So, or what the Packers will have moving forward there on the injury report. So, with that, you just got to see this Packers team get healthy. We got to see these guys get back on the field, see this team full form out there. I really do think the offensive line has gotten better now that everybody is slowly starting to get healthy. I mean, we still don't have David Bakhtiari. Nobody ever knows if David Bakhtiari is going to retire from football, if we'll ever see him again, whatever's going to happen. But this offensive line is starting to play well together. I think they're starting to mesh. I think having everybody back, I think it's starting to look a lot better. So that is a big key right now, keeping the offensive line healthy. Defense needs to keep working. I mean, right now, I believe they're the 9th in the league in scoring defense right now. This defense, I mean, everybody has been calling for Joe Barry's head for years. And this season, Packers defense is playing well. You look at these, I mean, these last couple games for the Packers here. 22 points against the Lions, given up 19 against the Chiefs, 20 against the Chargers, gave up 23 against the Steelers, 3 against the Rams, 24 to the Vikings before that, 19 to the Broncos. You can go back and forth. I mean, their worst game was against the Lions early on in the year there with 34. This Packers defense is playing, I mean, pretty well. And they pressured Mahomes. They did a good job in pass coverage, I thought, in that ball game. Run defense is still a struggle. I really do think they need to find a way to address the run issue. I mean, otherwise we're going to have another issue come playoff time if the Packers make it. Hypothetically saying, if the Packers make it. We don't want another issue with Mostert running all over us again. I mean, that's what we saw one year in the playoffs. We don't want to see that crap again. So Packers need to address that run issue. But other than that, Packers defense playing well. And you cannot knock what we're seeing right now out of this Packers team. A lot of the rookies playing well. Tucker Kraft in Luke Musgrave's absence has been playing well for this Packers team. Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks, both very good. I mean, those guys have been playing hats off some great football. I mean, those two, they could be your 1 and 2 on days for this Packers team. Besides Dobbs, Watson, when they're out there, those two could be the 1 and 2 of this Packers team. Anders Carlson, I mean, I'm just looking down the draft picks from this last year and just talking about some of these rookies. Anders Carlson has hit some big field goals for the Packers this year. I mean, he's had his fair share of misses, and he's a rookie. We got to remember that. He's a rookie. But he's been, I mean, other than that, been playing very well for the Packers. Carrington Valentine been playing A-OK for the Packers. Packers have been, I mean, all the way around, the defense has been looking good. The receivers for the Packers, that's what we got to continue to see is the growth of these receivers. Right away in the season, we were hearing things, the wrong route was being ran. Romeo Dobbs was running into another guy. Jade Reed was running into another guy. Christian Watson wasn't running. I mean, everybody wasn't running the right routes. Everybody wasn't growing. And I think we're finally seeing this offense grow. We're starting to see these receivers grow. And, I mean, I'm loving what I'm seeing. Dontavian Wicks, love what I see at Dontavian Wicks. I think he could be a solid number 2 receiver. I think Dontavian Wicks could be at times your number 1 receiver if you really need him to. That's a big-bodied guy who can go up and get it. And Dontavian Wicks is a great receiver right now for the Packers. Jaden Reed, athletic, can get out in space, can make a move. Jaden Reed has impressed me. Romeo Dobbs making catches when we need him to make catches. Christian Watson, that game against the Chiefs impressed me a ton, and to see him get injured sucked. That just sucked because it was finally like Christian Watson's coming out of his shell. The offense is finally rolling. We see him get injured. It's like, okay, we haven't heard anything. I saw a report, something, I talked about it yesterday, 1 to 2 weeks. I haven't heard a confirmed out of that. I just saw the report. So I don't know what it's looking like for Christian Watson. Hopefully not anything more than a week or two, and we will see Christian Watson back out on the football field for the Packers. And we just got to see Jordan Love continue to grow. I mean, looking at Jordan Love's last 3 games, wins over the Chargers, Lions, and Chiefs, 27 for 40 against the Chargers, 322 for 2 touchdowns, 22 for 32 against the Lions, 268 and 3 touchdowns. Again, against the Chiefs, 25 for 36, 267 and 3 touchdowns. Just impressive showings by Jordan Love, limiting the turnovers, limiting the bad throws, and just making things happen. I think that's the big thing we need to keep seeing out of Jordan Love, making the right decision. I talked about it yesterday. I think there's going to be growing pains with Jordan Love. He's going to make some great throws, and then he's going to make those throws that just make you go, what am I watching right now? What is going on? And I think it's growing pains that we're going to have to live through. Right now, Jordan Love is the guy in Green Bay, and it's just, I mean, we're rolling with it. We're rolling with it. And, I mean, everybody, I was one of them, was right away during this terrible stretch here. I mean, you can't say it was a great stretch. After maybe that Falcons game, it was a struggle. And we all sat there and we're like, oh boy. And Brian Gutekunst, I think, might have woke up Jordan Love when he said there's 10 games left in the season and we're going to see what happens. That might have woke up what was inside Jordan Love. Because you look at the difference of where he was early on in the season and where he is now, it does contribute with the offense growing. I got to say, the receivers getting involved more, the offensive line getting healthy, and being better in there, and the run game getting started. That has helped out Jordan Love a lot. Also, Matt LaFleur opening up the playbook. I thought right away this year we were still living in the Aaron Rodgers, the post-Aaron Rodgers era of Green Bay football. What he wanted to do, blah, 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 not letting Matt LaFleur run the offense how he wanted. Now we're seeing it full-fledged, and I think I like it. I like what I'm seeing. The screen, I love the screens. I love the short stuff for Jordan Love, being able to dump the pass off, these wide receivers options, these sweeps, everything like that, seeing some of this stuff unfold has just been impressive, especially against the Chiefs there. A very good Chiefs defense, and this Packers offense just flourished. And I thought that was huge to see. But, all of that put to the side, you got to take care of your business. You're in the playoff picture now. You're in the 7th spot. You played yourself. I couldn't have said starting out here this season when they were sitting at, 2-5. I couldn't have said to you, this Packers team is destined for the playoffs. Couldn't have said it. The offense was terrible. Defense, we were talking about getting rid of Joel Barry and blowing it up. This whole team was just a mess. And to see the turnaround, realistically, they should have beat the Steelers. You should be on a 5-game win streak right now. You should be sitting at 7-6 instead of 6-6, or 7-5 instead of 6-6. But this is where we're at. We're 500 in a very low, not so good NFC. You look at the NFC as a whole, and I would say if I'm looking at the NFC, there's a few teams the Packers can't beat: the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the 49ers. Other than that, across the board, Packers can hang with every other team. They beat the Lions. That's your next best team in the NFL. Other than that, the Rams, Seahawks, Falcons, I believe the Packers can beat all of them. The Vikings, I believe the Packers can beat every single one of those teams. So, and you get yourself into a playoff scenario and you see what happens. We didn't think they'd beat the Chiefs. They beat the Chiefs. So you get yourself into a playoff, you see what happens. And I think that's where the Packers need to take care of their business moving forward here. You look at their schedule coming up. You have the Giants coming up next. Then you have the Buccaneers, the Panthers, the Vikings, the Bears. That is a schedule for this Packers team. You went out, you're sitting at what? You have 5 games left here. You're sitting at 11-6 to end the season. You're 11-6, you're in the playoffs. And an 11-6 finish to what this season started as would baffle me. It would put me, I would be ecstatic. I would be through the roof that this Packers team is destined for something more moving forward. So with that, though, I just want to jump over. Just check out college basketball, see what the slate is for. We'll check out the rankings real quick in this week. So Arizona's in that 1 spot, Kansas in the 2, Houston moved up to the 3, Purdue dropped 3 spots down to the 4 spot after that loss to Northwestern. UConn dropped 1 spot after their loss. Baylor moved up 3, Gonzaga moved up 4, Marquette dropped 5 after the loss to Wisconsin. North Carolina made it an 8 spot jump there to the 9 spot. Creighton moved up to the 10 spot, 5 spots up there. Florida Atlantic is in that 11. Texas at the 12 spot right now. Colorado State is in the 13 spot. BYU is in the 14 spot. Miami's in the 15. Kentucky is in the 16 spot right now. Tennessee's in the 17. James Madison is in the 18 spot. Oklahoma is in the 19. Illinois is in the 20. Texas A&M sitting at 21. Duke, I don't know how they're still in the top 25 right now. They lost a couple bad ones last week there. They are sitting at 22. They have dropped 15 spots. 5-3 is their record. Wisconsin in there at 23. Clemson in there at 24. And San Diego State in there at 25. So a lot of movement there in the top 25. Badgers jumping in. good to see out of Wisconsin. Looking at the schedule coming up, see if there's any big games coming up tonight here for college basketball. Marquette is in action against Texas. That game will be at 7 on FS1 from the Pfizer there. Number 8 Marquette taking on number 12 Texas. That should be a very good game. Their Big East Big 12 battle. Other than that, Clemson, number 24 Clemson, in action against South Carolina, both undefeated, going at it. Number 13 Colorado State. I don't know how they even got into the rankings, but they're at 13. They are taking on Denver in a matchup there from Moby Arena there in Colorado. DePaul in action against Texas A&M. Other than that, not much going on in college basketball for tonight. But with that, that is about all I have for today. It's been awesome talking to you guys. This has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow. But until then, deuces.